Pets usually bring joy and meaning to our everyday lives. Whether you're a lover of cats, dogs, or snakes, everyone has a pet. With that in mind, this couple couldn't wait to add a cute pet to their family. They wanted a pet that the whole family could love for a lifetime. But this cat was very stubborn. He had a different idea of home life. It was this different view that made him famous on Facebook. Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. A couple found themselves in a similar situation when they discovered that their adopted cat had strange habits. One of the cat's traits caused them to have sleepless nights for weeks. Every animal lover knows that adoption is a better choice than buying animals. The couple in question was also aware of the importance of this, so they visited their local animal shelter to find a friend for their family. They did not arrive at the shelter with huge expectations. The only important aspect was that the cat they were about to adopt was friendly and lovable. The kitten they finally found was exactly what they were looking for: sweet, caring, and happy. Of course, their story doesn't end here. From the moment Daniel Hawkins and his family chose Muffin, the cat became part of the family for good. When they first saw each other, Muffin looked Daniel straight in the eye and seemed to beg him to be taken home. Being an adopted cat, Muffin had some strange habits that he learned before he found a home. He only showed these behaviors to his new family at night. The behaviors explained below are considered strange regardless of what animal we are talking about. After being taken home, the cat stood outside her owner's bedroom every night while they were sleeping. He didn't seem to understand that he had to sleep in his own bed. Like most of pet owners, Daniel gave up after a while and let Muffin sleep in bed with them. He hoped that this would solve the problem. Unfortunately, the opposite happened, and Muffin's behavior became increasingly disturbing. This way Muffin could have rested easy, but instead of sleeping, the cat watched their owner all night while they were asleep. This behavior happened every night without exception. The owners didn't know what to do. It was definitely disturbing to have a cat staring at them every time they woke up in the middle of the night. Could this behavior be a symptom of a more serious mental health problem? Daniel was diagnosed with asthma at the age of 13, which means he has had breathing problems all his life. The symptoms worsened particularly at night. This had a complete impact on his quality of life. He visited many doctors and specialists, but no one was able to help. Lately, his asthma got worse. It seemed that Daniel had to live with this awful disease for the rest of his life. Daniel seemed to find it increasingly difficult to breathe after Muffin arrived. But the situation was more serious than a simple allergy. At night, he felt as if there were shards of glass in his throat. He spent countless nights awake, waiting for his breathing to normalize. He slept well very rarely. As time went by, Daniel felt increasingly uncomfortable. As most of the nights, Daniel woke up coughing again that night. He was breathing heavily, and something seemed to be squeezing his chest. He looked at the clock. 403. His wife was happily sleeping beside him. Lucky woman. He went to get a glass of water from the kitchen when he suddenly noticed something strange. Muffin was standing in a corner of the room, doing something that made Daniel's blood run cold from the fear. What was the poor cat doing that frightened Daniel so much? Muffin sat on a chair in the moonlight, silently watching Daniel's every move. Yes, the new cat sat in the corner like a statue, watching him. This already creepy behavior was even more frightening in the middle of the night. When Daniel stood up, Muffin's bright yellow eyes followed him. In an instant, Daniel was overcome with anxiety. The same thing happened the next day at exactly the same time. At 4:03, Daniel woke up coughing and noticed that Muffin was watching him. That's very strange, he thought. He whispered to his creepy cat, "What are you doing?" In his confusion, Daniel had a great idea, which might answer the question of why he always wakes up at the same time and finds his cat staring at him. After thinking about it for a while, he went back to bed worried. The next morning, everything seemed to be fine. However, while Daniel was eating his breakfast, he saw Muffin sneaking around the house as if he was on some important duty. His two daughters were trying to play with the cat while watching TV. His youngest daughter, Ella, took Muffin in her arms and hugged her tightly. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He couldn't process what had happened the night before. Something was wrong with the cat, but he couldn't figure out exactly what the problem was. Daniel knew this could not go on anymore. He had to do something. He grabbed his wallet and car keys, kissed his wife, and headed to the grocery store. As he drove, Daniel thought of the cat's worried and frightened eyes. He had to find an answer immediately. It was all very strange, and Daniel knew he had to do something. Daniel approached a salesman who was stacking jeans on the shelf. "Hello, I'd like to buy a camera. One that has a night mode too." "Of course," replied the employee. Before Daniel fell asleep, he switched on his camera and hid it behind a book. Daniel fell asleep, hoping that in the morning he might get some answers to his questions. When Daniel woke up in the morning, he immediately remembered the camera. After taking his kids to soccer class, he ran upstairs under Muffin's suspicious gaze. He immediately closed the bedroom door, took the memory card from the camera, and inserted it into his computer. Daniel took a deep breath as he pressed the play button. "I hope I find answers now," he whispered. There was nothing special about the video in the first few hours. It only recorded Daniel and his wife while sleeping in bed. Nothing interesting happened. Daniel, who was rewinding the video, suddenly pressed the stop button. "No way!" he shouted. "This can't be true!" cried Daniel. He sat in his room, watching the video he had recorded the night before. In the video, Muffin slowly approached Daniel's face and then lay down on Daniel's mouth and nose. So it was clear why he was having trouble breathing at night. Daniel paused the video and stood up. He was delighted. He was so happy that he had finally solved the mystery that flooded his mind for so long. He saw Muffin in the room and smiled at him. The next morning, over a coffee and breakfast, Daniel told his wife everything. His wife was as surprised as Daniel, but Daniel was happy that he finally solved the problem. In the end, he felt good. "He has to show his love in some way," laughed Daniel's wife. "That's right," Daniel replied with a smile. As Daniel finished reading the morning news, he heard a voice. When he turned around, Muffin was standing there, watching him from the corner of the room. He put the paper down, walked over to Muffin, and took him in the arms. He began to like her shiny, soft fur as Muffin sat on his lap. The cat purred loudly and looked at his owner. He seemed to be in the right place, as close to Daniel as possible. What a wonderful feeling! This story shows us that our pets have their own personalities and lives. When they want something, be it food, drink, a toy, or in Muffin's case a hug, they will do anything to get what they want without thinking of the consequences. Even if they strangle their owner with their actions, of course, they're expressing love. We are so glad that Daniel has revealed Muffin and finally figured out why he had such breathing problems at night.